and welcome to this episode of Filmi Ladies. Today we're going to talk about qawwalis. So we're very excited to have our guest, the wonderful Sujoy, that you guys probably know from the Khandaan Podcast. I want to thank our subscriber Farhan because he's the one who actually suggested in the YouTube comments that we do an episode on qawwalis. And I was like, oh my God, that's such a good idea. I immediately WhatsApped Beth and I was like, look, the subscriber gave us this idea. And then we couldn't think of anyone better than Sujoy to be our guest because we all know what a musical admi he is. And we all remember his musical rants from back in the blogging days. So welcome, Sujoy.
Thank you so much.
So when we discussed that we were going to do the qawwali episode, my most basic question was, what exactly is a qawwali? Because I feel like we all know what a qawwali is, but do we really know what a qawwali is? So I went to that greatest of sources, which is, of course, Wikipedia, where I do all my research. So I went on Wikipedia, and Wikipedia told me that Delhi's Sufi saint Amir Khusro of the Chishti order of Sufis is credited with fusing the Persian, Arabic, Turkish, and Indian traditions in the late 13th century in India to create the qawwali as we know it today. And today the qawwali is primarily sung in India and Pakistan. And I also dug deeper, and it basically said that traditionally the qawwali was supposed to be spiritual music. So it was mostly sung in dargahs. And all the singers had to be male, no women were allowed, no musical instruments were allowed. And it was basically just men singing spiritual songs. So basically, by that definition, every single song that we're going to talk about today is wrong.
Yeah.
Just how we like it.
Exactly. It's all wrong. But so Joy, let me start with you. When you think of a qawwali, what is the number one thing that you think of that makes it a good qawwali for you?
I think like my definition of a qawwali, again, as you said, like it's very difficult to just define it by certain parameters because each qawwali breaks those rules sometimes. But when you hear a qawwali, you instantly know that it's a qawwali, right? And also, like sometimes you think like a song could be made into a qawwali form, and you would like to hear it in a qawwali form. For example, like Channa Meria almost feels like a qawwali, but it's not a qawwali. But again, if it was like a group chorus singing some of the chorus bits, it could become a qawwali. So I think the bits that make it a qawwali in as we know it now in today's like Bollywood form of qawwali is probably like a harmonium and a dholak. Then when the chorus would be sung by a group of people, like a chorus choir as per se, and then there might be some changes of pitches. Or like the rhythm might get faster at some point, and the crescendo or the peak of the song would be achieved towards the end. And like famous examples being Kajrare or Pal Do Pal, all of those Bollywood qawwalis. I think also because of Bollywood as such, that is the main source of my knowledge of qawwali. I did not grow up listening to like the Wadali brothers or the Sabri brothers, or even Ustad Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan per se was introduced to me through Bollywood. So for me, qawwali is very first music as such is a visual medium when I started learning about music because I used to see the music. And if I consider qawwali in that sense, it's like Rishi Kapoor comes to my mind like above all. And obviously Mohammad Rafi singing for Rishi Kapoor.
Yeah. And then Beth, what about you? We see you have another scary background.
How dare you call the great Shashi Kapoor a scary background?
Well, his outfit is scary, Beth.
This is super
the
fun.
Background Beth is going to pick for our episode.
This is from Fakira, which if you haven't seen it is a total masala, like kind of throwaway film, but it's very fun. And it's with Shabana Azmi, which is always a funny pairing to me.
That mustache is everything.
That mustache is everything. And of course, he's undercover doing some or other. And he's
nobody does. That was also, I used to be a like a trope, didn't it? Like a qawwali used to be thrown as like the song before the mission, or it is the mission, you know?
What I love most about qawwalis is So, and again, coming to this from someone who I have Western classical music training, but I don't have, South Asian at all. And so like musically, structurally, theory wise, I can identify, like qawwalis really stand out because they've got that super strong downbeat. They're always in the same rhythm. As Sujoy mentioned, the crescendo of volume, the speeding up is really clear, but like musically, structurally, they're very distinctive. And again, like instrumentation wise, and as a choral singer, like I love that there's actually a bunch of, because there's not usually choral in a lot of Indian film songs or Indian music generally, really. So that's super cool. They really stand out. But what I love most about qawwalis is this. Because the singer, even if it isn't someone who's undercover, although often it is, or the hero or whatever, like someone is making very pointed statements about somebody else. And you can do that in any kind of song. And we've all seen it all over the place, but there's something about the direct address somehow in a qawwali that I really find very, very, very entertaining and just super fun to watch.
The drama of it all.
Yeah, very dramatic. Even if it's comedic, it's also dramatic somehow. And there's something almost, even though obviously they do have this very important religious background, the blend of secular and sacred in them is really cool. And you can kind of feel the sacred in the structure, even if the words are different, or maybe the poetry is doing double duty or whatever. Like they're so cool.
One of the things I've noticed about qawwalis that I really enjoy, especially with Rishi Kapoor's, is that they say things in qawwalis that they wouldn't dare to say without the qawwali. Like Rishi Kapoor will say extremely direct things to his heroine and just be like, I want you. And he'll just say it in qawwali form. And outside of the qawwali, he's fairly tame. Or he will just be like directing these barbs at the girl's father and just being like, you suck. And he wouldn't dare to do that outside of the qawwali. Like he'll maybe make a few passive aggressive comments, but the directness in words, in the actions, in the face, often the qawwali is the one that really takes the hero and the heroine's romance forward, because it's like it's so sped up. There's just so much happening in the qawwali, and then boom, now they're actually a couple, or they've accepted that they're a couple, or the dad is now like, okay, these people are going to elope and I'm out of control now. And it's interesting that you also see that in the more spiritual qawwalis, like Khwaja Mere Khwaja is probably my favorite spiritual qawwali, or Kun Faya Kun with Ranbir in it is also in that category. Even in those, you can see that there's sort of like this direct exhortation to like God. And then at the end, you sort of have these boundaries that are broken. Like in Khwaja Mere Khwaja, Ritik as Akbar he's just a mute spectator, right? Like they're celebrating his wedding and he's just sitting there and they're performing. And then towards the end, I don't know what happens to him, but he just gets carried away with the music. And then everyone is like, why is he getting up? Yeah, he gets up and he sort of joins them, and he just has this very transfixed look about him. And then in Kun Faya Kun, you start with Ranbir being this very like unhappy, depressed person having an existential crisis. And then in the course of the qawwali, he starts playing the music and he starts hanging around them. And then at one point he whips out his guitar, and I was like, wait, there's a guitar in this qawwali, because that's the musical instrument that Janardhan plays. And then he's actually participating. So you see a lot happen in qawwalis, to the point where they're not just a thing, they actually take the story forward.
And also like musically, I don't think I've ever heard a qawwali that is short. It's always like 6 minutes plus, because it goes through an entire journey, and it tells it has a narrative.
And you have to establish the repetitiveness to get to the ecstasy, right? Like it's building, it's the contemplative sort of build. So
almost like a frenzy. It's like a frenzy that's happening. I think that's why when you said that even in the qawwalis that don't have like necessarily a spiritual angle, even in those it still feels a little bit spiritual, because you still have that almost like a high, which is interesting, because the Sufis are the ones who sort of blended religious ecstasy but also recreational drugs.
Why this is making me wonder, like, why isn't there one in every movie? Because everything we're naming is great for film, for cinema.
Exactly.
It's kind of tapered off from modern Indian soundtracks, but I think A.R. Rahman is the only one who is still doing qawwalis in soundtracks. Like if you can't, I can't for this research of the episode, I could only find out like Vishal Shekhar did a few, and that's it. I can't think of a Pritam Qawwali. I can't think of Anu Malik did one from Mehuna, and yeah, that's about it.
What's the most recent one you found? Because on the big playlist I've got so far, 2015 is the latest one. I bet there must be a couple since then.
Which one is that, Beth? The 2015
from
one?
Bajrangi Bhajan.
Yeah, Bhardo Jholi, which is not exactly a recent composition. It's an original Qawwali from Pakistan, which Adnan Sami sang for Bajrangi Bhajan.
And before that, Agnipath has one, which I think is a great one. And that's 2012. So that, you know, it's been a while.
So that reminds me. Oh, go ahead, Sujoy.
No, go for it.
When you mentioned Agnipath, Beth, you reminded me because I remember on the WhatsApp group chat, we were talking about Rishi Kapoor being sort of like the uncrowned king of Qawwalis. And it's so funny, like you have all these 70s Qawwalis that he's done that are so amazing. Hai Agar Dushman Dushman, Tayya Balli Pyar Ka Dushman, all these fabulous ones. And then even in his like senior years in Agnipath, he's still doing
the
Qawwali.
Qawwali king. Yeah.
So talk to us about Sujoy, talk to us about Rishi.
Yeah, he is the spokesperson, the single point of contact, the subject matter expert when it comes to Bollywood Qawwali. I mean, people have done Qawwali before him, even in Bollywood, like Raj Kapoor has done it, Shashi Kapoor has done it, Shami Kapoor probably has done it, Dilip Kumar, Rajendra Kumar, all of them have done it. But I think the golden image of the young hero sitting down, having fun with the medium, and also the chherkhani with the heroine within that particular song. I think when the Qawwal image is discussed, he is the representative. He's second to none. I can't think of anybody else who is as genuine a Bollywood Qawwal as Rishi Kapoor. And a lot of that is also carried by Mohammad Rafi's voice, which suits him perfectly in those Qawwalis, and compositions by R. Burman or Lakshmikant Pyarelal, whoever is composing for that song. But yeah, absolutely.
It's the sass, right? It's the sass, because no one does sassy like Rishi Kapoor did sassy.
And he also, as he's one of those he is fully a dancing hero. And he can somehow dance while seated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't need that to just super, you don't need it. It adds a lot. And I think that's why some of these, so the earliest film I found from, again, thank you everyone on Twitter who I will name in the notes for contributing to this. There's one from 1945, and getting women in there, because traditionally the women are better dancers than the men in the movies, right? So getting them to do Qawwalis, even though it's not supposed to be the thing, that I think that adds to a lot. But Rishi Kapoor can dance with just his eyes and his face, but especially if he is kind of seated but moving from being seated, like he's just no one is better than he is at that.
And also the whole image of choreography around Qawwali when the hero does the clap, that nobody does it like Rishi Kapoor.
Nobody.
Yeah.
It really made me miss him. Thinking about this, like, because he died right in the beginning of the worst of the pandemic for most of us, I think, and it just got, and obviously Irfan as well, like around that same time, like they both got eclipsed by all the horrendous global news. Fair enough, but I just really, it hadn't occurred to me that I hadn't really mourned the loss of Rishi Kapoor from the world yet, and I was just kind of sitting there thinking about that, and just like what a performer he was.
And it's when I was looking at the videos, like Rishi Kapoor's like 70s songs, and Neetu Singh is in them, in all of the Amar Akbar Anthony, their chemistry, I mean, I don't know why I'm saying this now in 2023, everybody knows this, but their chemistry is insane. Like even when Neetu Singh is seated and she's wearing a burqa and she's like, scared and she's looking at her dad, even then, like just the eye contact, it's these guys, they were like made for each other. Because when I think of like the romantic songs between Rishi and Neetu, my go-to is always Tere Chehre Se Nazar Nahi Hatti from Kabhi Kabhi. But even in their Qawwalis, it's like you look at their eye contact, you're like, I cannot imagine anyone except Rishi and Neetu together. Like they were just perfect. What were we saying, Sujoy?
Just a bit of a segue. Have you guys seen the trailer for Romantics? The YRF documentary? And I did not expect Rishi and Neetu to appear like that. It's like, oh my God. I'm really looking forward to that.
It's funny that like Rishi is the one that we think of as a Kawal, and then in the more recent ones that I found, I feel like Ranbir is very suited to Kawalis, but not the sassy, happy ones that Rishi was associated with, but more of like the spiritual ones, or sort of like I am having a spiritual renaissance / awakening ones like Kun Faya Kun, and even Channa Meria has that vibe, even though it's not a Kawali like you said, Sujoy, and I think it's something about his like expressions and his droopy eyes that's just very well suited to
It's
that
it's
form.
all the LSD and the weed.
Well, and he too can dance while seated, right? He's a great dancer.
Yeah.
So that again, I think that really the choreography of Qawwali is something I would love to know more about from people who, have done it, have studied, have choreographed, whatever, because it is very specific, but also there's a lot of room for creativity within that, as we saw, of course, in Mehuna, which is maybe it. Apart from the ones from the 70s I love so much, to me, that's the one that's the most fun.
It's so fun, especially that part where they keep going wicked. I love that.
And like you hear the pigeons and doves flapping around, like the water splashing, like it's everything.
It's such a Shah Rukh presence in that, right? The wicked, even that somebody else is saying it, but we believe that it's Shah Rukh saying wicked,
It's
like
so of its
that.
time, right? Like no one would say that in 2023, but in 2004, like wicked. So
So isn't it surprising though? Like I feel like Shah Rukh would be so perfect for Qawwalis, and he hasn't done very many. I mean, he's basically done what? Just this one, just the Mehuna one, right? Because every other modern one I can think of is Ritik.
But like Veer Zara has the Aaya Tere Dar Par, but he's not singing it.
Dancing.
Yeah, he's not singing it, but
I think the modern.
That's what from a Khandaan representative. I brought two Qawwalis each from the Khans.
Nice, give it to us.
So Amir has Chand Sifarish, which can be a pseudo Qawwali from Fana. It has the Shan's vocals, and then you have Kailash Khair as well. And then there is a Qawwali from Sarfarosh, which not necessarily anybody is lip syncing, but it's more of a background track. It's called Zindagi Maut Na Ban Jaye Sangbai.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
And Rukumar Rathod, I think.
I think so.
Those two are Amir's representatives, but you might consider Malang to have some sort of Qawwali structure as well from Dhoom 3, but I didn't consider them in my favorites. Shah Rukh has Tumse Milke Dil Ka Hai Jo Hal from Mehuna, and Aaya Tere Dar Par from Veer Zara, and Salman has Bhardo Jholi from Bajrangi Bhaijaan, and my favorite is Walla Re Walla from Tismar Khan, the cameo song where him and Akshay have a dance off. Yeah,
completely forgotten that.
Same.
I blocked out Tismar Khan, sorry.
But that's such a fun song. When that, like, I vividly remember that in the cinema, and like the high entry bit when he's like doing the adab in the hype, the high the upbeat portion of the song, and it's such a fun song.
I've never seen Tismar Khan.
But have you seen the Walla Re Walla song?
I've seen the song, but I haven't seen the movie. I tried to get into it. I watched I think 15 minutes, and then I was like, I can't do this anymore. And then I gave up. Plus, I don't like Akshay Kumar, so it's like,
If the movie could have matched Walla Re Walla's 50%, it would have been such a great movie. Oh,
we can say that about so many films, Sujoy, where it's like the movie's terrible, the songs are great, and it's like if the
we just watched Gupt for this. Yeah, we just watched Gupt for the podcast tomorrow.
Oh, I love Gupt.
Walla Re Walla, absolute favorite for me.
Nice. What about you, Beth? Like, what are your favorite? And when we say favorite, we mean actual favorite, not Sujoy's favorite.
So the more I learned and the more I looked at things people sent on Twitter, the more I was like, that is also a favorite. That is also a favorite. I have not seen this film, and I've only briefly watched the song, but there's one from a film called Dharma from 1973 with Bindu and Prawn, which is the best cast for anything ever. Bindu is great at this. Prawn, obviously I'm sure he's in disguise. I don't know the film, but I bet you he's in disguise.
He's got a disguise mole on it.
Yeah, and some kind of outrageous wig that only he can have the dignity to somehow pull off. Raz Kibat, that one looks great. So the two from Amar Akbar Anthony are mega favorites for me, especially Tayyab Ali Pyar Ka Dushman, because using the hijras in there is like such a great idea. I love, so we haven't talked about this one yet, from Parvarish, same year, same director, we get Neetu Singh and Shabana Azmi in Sambal Jayazara, where they are talking about their plans to murder people right there in the Qawwali, and the background set is all landmarks of India, and then there's like big pistols in the backdrop, and then they've got guns that they're dancing, that they're like doing their Qawwali moves with and everything. A plus. That's one of my favorite films ever. I've talked about it already, but like that song is so great. I love, so we've just been talking about Feroz Khan on this podcast. Qurbani from Qurbani.
So good.
Banger. Such a good song. My God, that soundtrack is so good.
And then I love the dance in Qurbani. Like it's with so good, like with the talwars and everything. The people in the back are with the talwars. I was like, yes, more talwars.
So that one, and then of course Tumse Milka. Like it's so much fun. It's got, even the people who are in, even the lesser couple in Mehuna is still very fun to watch in that song in particular. Like it's colorful, it's silly, it's creative, it's sexy, it's fun. It's got everything. It's got that massive set of backing singers and performers. It's got birds. It's got a water feature.
It's got sequins.
And like Bollywood traditionally, especially with R.D. Burman's, string of discography, you have a huge string section. You used to have a huge string section, and that was missing for so many years. It became more electronic with Bappi Lahiri coming into the picture, and then obviously Anu Malik and all that. Of course, your favorite. And my favorite as well. But like Farah Khan brought that back in Tumse Milka. You have the actual string people coming in and
it's super fun.
Oh, such a great song.
So
did Bappi write any Qawwalis?
Who?
Bappi.
No. Bappi was the king of disco, my friend.
But he did like
disco Qawwali.
Zillion movies. There must be.
There must be. I'll do some research and come back to you on this.
Because I did find, thanks to, I think YouTube suggested links, a Bengali film with a Qawwali called Remix Qawwali from 2014. It's not that great, and like we could talk forever about how Bengali film music is not what it used to be, but like that, it's okay. But I was glad to see one in there, and they're having fun with the form and like getting the crew of backing guys with their hankies out and everything. So, and someone sent me a Malayalam one from 2014. So they're not just in Hindi film, although they seem to be primarily in Hindi film, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Nice. My favorite Qawwali is going to be a little unusual. I was actually surprised that it was categorized as a Qawwali because I feel like it's straddling that line where it may not be, but I don't know. But it's from Pardes because I'm a Shah Rukh Khan fan. And the song is Nahi Hona Tha from Pardes. Nahi Hona Tha Lekin Ho Gaya Hai Tujhe Pyar. I love that song because, again, like I was saying with Qawwalis, they get to say the things that they haven't said. It just sort of like,
and somebody else is saying on their behalf, and this is specifically meant for the hero and the heroine in this movie.
But like Pardes is one of my favorite movies. I know that it's problematic, I know that it's annoying, but like whatever, it's peak Shah Rukh. I watch it for him and also for the songs. And every time Amish Puri comes and does annoying things and Mahima is like crying, I just forward. It's fine. Like I watched that 3-hour movie in like 2 hours. It's okay. But this song Nahi Hona Tha, I love the setting. I love how Shah Rukh looks very like tortured, and then Mahima looks very sad, and it's very like, you two little lovebirds need to get together and you need to like kick Apurva Agnihotri to the curb because he's terrible. And it's a good song. The entire Pardes soundtrack is so good, and it's women who are singing a lot in this song, so I like that too. But I never hear Nahi Hona Tha as being on anyone's list. And then the other Qawwali that I really enjoy is it's like a love-hate relationship. I think Sujoy, you mentioned it too. It's The one from Dhadkan, दूल्हे का चेहरा सुहाना
Uh-huh.
लगता है.
Sahara.
Yeah, दूल्हे का सेहरा सुहाना लगता है, दुल्हन का तो दिल दीवाना लगता है. I like that song because it is so over the top and melodramatic.
Mhm.
So Shilpa Shetty is wearing the worst bridal outfit ever on screen in a Bollywood movie. She's wearing this like electric blue monstrosity with the most ghastly, cheap looking gold jewelry. It is terrible. She has so much makeup on and she's just like crying and being miserable and just like heaving and like it's very dramatic. There's a lot of bosom heaving in that song. And Kader Khan is the person who is singing it, and he has a very bad beard. It looks very scratchy.
Yeah.
And then there's Akshay Kumar, and Akshay Kumar is like, "Who is this crazy woman I married?" She's literally crying the whole time, and you can see his ego is like getting hurt because he's like, "I'm not that bad. Why are you crying so much?" Because she's of course thinking of Sunil Shetty, and
Yeah.
that entire song is. Talk about fever pitch. Everybody in that song, Shilpa Shetty looks like she's being bitten by a dog and she's gotten rabies because it's like it takes fever pitch to a whole new level.
Mhm.
And that's a song I enjoy, you guys. And at one point while watching the video, I was laughing and I was mocking Shilpa Shetty and making fun of her. And my husband legit got upset. He looks at me and he goes, "I feel like Kader Khan and I are the only people who understand Shilpa Shetty's pain." And I was like,
That's
what
the best
happened
sentence
to
I've ever heard in
you?
my life.
What?
I want a t-shirt that says, Kader Khan and I are the only ones who understand Shilpa Shetty's pain. I would wear that shirt.
What happened to you? He was all like enjoying the song and he was singing along to it. He was jamming. And I was just laughing and poking fun. And then he goes, "You should have more sympathy." Like he didn't say that, but I was like, I don't have sympathy for Shilpa Shetty. She's crying over Sunil. What the fuck? Anyway, do you guys like either of my Qawwalis or do you think they're terrible?
I really enjoy Dule Ka Sehra, and it's sung by Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. And
Yeah.
it's one of those rare Nusrat songs that is for a Bollywood soundtrack. But he also composed for Kache Dage, which has some Qawwalis as well.
Oh, yeah. And he was on video in that Aur Pyar Ho Gaya Qawwali.
Yes,
Koi
Koi
Jaane,
Jaane.
Koi Na Jaane. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was in that. I actually wish that they had like had him in the song instead of Kader Khan in Dulhe Ka Sehra, because it's a bit of a disconnect. It's like you're seeing Kader Khan and he's going for it. Like he's all like he's having convulsions. And then you have Nusrat's voice and it's kind of like, why don't we just, but then Nusrat wouldn't have done all the convulsions. So given how dramatic that song is, it's for the best.
Nusrat wouldn't have felt the same way for Shilpa Shetty's pain.
Nusrat would have been mocking her like me. He would have been like, "Girl."
I feel like Kader Khan probably is in a lot of these that I'm not even remembering. He seems like someone who would show up in these a lot, like Prawn, actually.
Yeah.
I can't think of examples, but.
And I think somebody else towards the 90s, it became like a plot device where like, one of those extra uncles would show up as Qawwals and they would dance around. Like the Pyar Kiya To Darna Kya song, Teri Jawani Badi Mast Mast.
Oh yeah, I'd completely forgotten that song. So who's the extra uncle in that?
I
didn't recognize any of them.
And also in Hina as well, right?
Yes.
Like for Derna
I
Ho
love
Jayega.
Acharya Mahi.
Yeah.
That's a good one. And
one that someone sent me that I had forgotten about is from Reshma or Shera from the early 70s. And it has baby Sanju in it. I'm like, that's such a good, and the whole thing is pictured on Sudhir. Speaking of extra uncles, I love him. Like that's the most screen time he's ever had consecutively. I think that's a great one. And it's got the flirting and all in the among the audience members. It's super cute.
I guess I categorized them into, like, I've mentioned the Khans and then I have the A.R. Rahmans. Because why not? So A.R. Rahman has Arziyan from Delhi 6, Pia Haji Ali from Fiza.
Pia Haji Ali is amazing. So good.
Kun Faya Kun and Khwaja Mere Khwaja we've already mentioned. But the one that we haven't mentioned is Kehna Hi Kya from Bombay, which is...
Oh, yeah.
That's a Qawwali?
It is a Qawwali because you get the female section and then you get the...
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And then from the classics, I have like a Pal Do Pal Ka Saath Hamara from Burning Train, which is 8 or 9 minutes long, and then you have so many singers having fun, and there's Jitendra in the video. I love that. Love that song.
That's a perfect one, and I had completely forgotten it until someone mentioned it, and I was like, oh my god, why do I not watch that once a week?
You know what? Doesn't it seem like there should have been more qawwalis filmed on Jitendra? Because speaking of like people who are like dancers and who are moving even when they're still, like he has that same like Rishi Kapoor sass and everything, and he was known as a dancing star. But I don't know very many Jitendra. He should have tried to like compete with Rishi Kapoor in that market. He should have been like,
that's an interesting question though.
thing.
Like why isn't he in more, and is it the type of movie? But then as we're noticing, like you can put a qawwali in almost anything if you're creative about it. So it shouldn't be too limited by that. I wonder if he
would have been good, I feel like.
I don't find myself often wishing for more Jitendra, but I take your point. I don't dislike him, but I don't really get it. You know, like why was he so popular? I don't get it. But
I never got it until I watched Karma, and then I got it. Karma?
Yeah.
No, I'm asking Beth, have you seen Karma? Oh, you still didn't get it.
I mean, I got it more, but I still, I don't. But I don't want him gone or anything. And like when I rewatched, the big song from Om Shanti Om the other day for where I forget what we were preparing for. And when he appeared, I was like, oh, I'm very happy to see you actually.
Yeah, he's very sprightly. And
he's fun.
I think that's the last of his like mainstream appearances on cinema, right?
Yeah.
Oh. From the classics, so I have Pal Do Pal Ka Saath Hamara from Burning Train, Hum Kisi Se Kam Nahi, and Parda Hai Parda we have already mentioned, and then Kajra Muhabbat Wala, if you guys remember, Babita and Biswajit.
So nice.
It was such a fun song.
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh,
it's very
really? Nice. Biswajit cross-dressing and what do you call Babita dressed as a man?
As a man, yeah.
Oh my god, I will watch it right away.
It's
How
so
interesting!
Good.
It's such a
we
fun
performed
song.
That song at my cousin Sangeet actually.
Nice.
And then Nigahe Milane Ko Ji Chahta Hai with Nutan, and finally Madhubala in Teri Mehfil Mein Kismet from Mughal-e-Azam.
There's also the Wahida one from Chaudhary Ka Chand.
Oh, which one?
I forget it, but it's black and white. It's from Chaudhary Ka Chand, and she looks really pretty in it. But the song itself is It's just pretty. That's all.
Okay. And from the recent ones, I have two picks. One is Banti Babli Kajrare, which is
what could be better?
Yeah. That's like peak. Like I think when I think of Shankar Ehsaan Loy's discography, that's like the one. Like people say Dil Chahta Hai was probably the breakthrough, and then they peaked with Banti Babli.
Amen.
Yeah. And one that people tend to forget, it's from a movie called Tanu Weds Manu with Kangana Ranaut and R. Madhavan. But it's a song called Rangrez sung by Wadali brothers. And it's such a great qawwali. I think when this soundtrack was released, do you guys remember this singer called Shubha Mudgal? She wrote a piece on India Today, I believe, about Rangrez and how the Wadali brothers. So there are two versions on the soundtrack, and she kind of differentiates between them too. It's a must read if you are into that. But go and check out Rangrez from Tanu Weds Manu.
Beth, I'm sure you know Shubha Mudgal because you know the Raincoat soundtrack, right? She sang all the songs in that.
Okay, yeah.
She's amazing.
And like in indie pop also, she sang like Ali More Angana, which is kind of like a qawwali as well.
Yeah. You know what surprises me? How come Delhi 6 doesn't have a qawwali? I feel like Delhi 6 would be like that movie. That would be so perfect. Which one?
Arzia.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah. It's Javed Ali and Kailash Kher singing Arzia, which it's a really, really great song.
So, like, since we associate Rishi with all of those like old-timey qawwalis, and then in recent times Ranbir has done like one or two, I think in modern times I kind of associate Ritik with them just because of Khwaja Mere Khwaja and Haji Ali. If you guys had to pick someone who could be like Rishi Kapoor's successor in qawwalis, who would you nominate? Like, because that person has to be a good dancer and they have to have good screen presence and they have to have sass, which are things that Ranbir doesn't have. Like Ranbir doesn't have sass.
I mean, Varun has like a very naughty
Oh,
Chichora side,
Yeah.
and he kind
yeah,
of tried
he
to
could
do
do
that
it.
in Kalank. I
Yeah,
think he tried to
True.
do that, but that movie didn't work.
Right.
Like,
right.
yeah,
I think Varun is a good nominee. Like, I feel like he could do that.
Yeah.
He has that mischievous, like, sparkle, twinkle in his eye thing, and he has a good screen presence. Yeah, Varun is a good pick. Beth, what about you?
Yeah, that's who that's who I went to first as well. Again, because you have to dance.
Yeah,
And I think that, this is a thing that I find hard to articulate, but some people are just better at songs, right? For whatever
yeah.
reason. And is it because they are more innately musical? Is it because they are able to connect to lyrics, whatever it is, right?
They just have like
I
an
think
innate rhythm.
I think is very good at songs.
Yeah.
So I would put him, and in terms of women, like I bet a lot of them could do it actually, but because again, they tend to be better dancers. But who are the top women dancers right now? Because please do not. And we just got a critique on Twitter, I do believe, from someone who said our podcast was fun, except you should mute us every few episodes because we critique a certain contemporary heroine, and I'm pretty sure they meant Katrina. But like, she's a great dancer, but she can't move her face, so she can't do a Qawwali.
No.
So we need someone who has whole range of, especially upper body, to do it. I'm sure there are many, but like when you try to imagine, like, I can't really imagine Deepika doing one. I can't really imagine like Kiara doing one.
I feel like Deepika could pull it off.
I think so.
Because
she seems too modern to me, despite what we've seen her in with,
but
SLB
the
films.
thing with Deepika is she can do camp really well. Like if you see her songs from Happy New Year, like just her role in Happy New Year, and then if you also see how like she expresses like her facial expressions in Om Shanti Om, and that she is a very good dancer. And if you see her expressions also in Chennai Express, I feel like if you give Deepika a really good Qawwali, she can bring it because she's a good dancer. She moves her face really well, and she would give really good close-ups. So Deepika,
I would. So I don't know if she counts anymore, but my beloved Rani Mukherjee. I feel like Rani could for sure do it.
For sure.
And again, you could just pop her in for a cameo for the one song if you wanted to. But, just like
there was actually when I was researching Qawwalis, and this is where sometimes you think it's a Qawwali, but it's not. And sometimes you don't think it's a Qawwali and it is. I was actually thinking of Rani's song from Mangal Pandey. I was sure it's a Qawwali and it's not. It's Tumhari whatever pe main wari wari. It just gives me such a Qawwali vibe. And like she's a Tawaif or whatever, but like it just gave me such a Qawwali vibe, but it's technically not a Qawwali. But she's
becomes
great
a mujra, right?
It is a mujra. But I mean, the percussion and everything in it gave me very Qawwali vibes, and she was great. So yeah, I would say Rani, except I don't think.
And
she's
obviously Aishwarya can do it. So
of course, and we haven't seen Aishwarya in any Qawwali. I mean, she is in the one from Aur Pyar Ho Gaya, but they're just doing very strong acrobatic dancing in that while Nusrat is singing. It's a very strange combination of like song, picturization, dancing. It's all over the place. Okay. Any other thoughts that you guys have on Qawwalis?
No, I was again thinking about your question. I think Priyanka would be like, we haven't seen a Priyanka movie in a long time. So I would maybe like to see if Priyanka would do a Qawwali well, given like, I would like to see a Farah Khan movie, to be honest.
Yeah, I know, right? Ugh.
Is she directing anything? Do we know anything? What is Farah Khan up to these days? Is she choreographing these days?
No idea. Yeah, I was watching Om Shanti Om yesterday because why not? And then I was like, oh, we missed this, man.
Yeah. Her movies were fun. Her husband's movies not as much, but okay.
Well, some of her movies are fun.
Yeah.
How many has she done? Like, which ones are not fun? I don't even remember.
Tismar Khan, I feel like, is not great, right? No, and Happy New Year is also not great.
Happy New Year is terrible.
I enjoyed it, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it, but I don't like. I've never rewatched it, you know.
Yeah.
But like, I've watched 10 or 12 times, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Do you guys feel like until the political climate in India changes for the better, are we going to not hear any qawwalis? Are there not going to be any new ones? Like, is that an issue, do you feel?
I just feel we have a dearth of good music happening.
Yeah.
So, like, like I can't remember the last time I heard a soundtrack. I mean, typically Ranbir Kapoor's movies have really good soundtracks, but in recent times, I can't remember any soundtrack that really stood out for me and made me go, "Oh my God, this is amazing." Except for the Ponniyin Selvan soundtrack, and that's not Bollywood, that's Tamil. So I just think that there's like there's a huge dearth of good music right now in Bollywood. And so we'll be lucky if we get any like good soundtrack, and even the normal romantic songs, if they can like actually make that happen. Forget qawwalis. I feel like qawwalis require so much more musical expertise to pull off. But like pull off a normal romantic song and then we'll talk. Like I saw the promo for what is that Ranbir and Shraddha Kapoor movie that's coming out?
Right.
Tu
Tu
Jhooti Main
Jhooti Main
Makkaar.
Makkaar. Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, I kind of like Ranbir Kapoor. I have no feelings about Shraddha. I'm neutral on her. But I was like, okay, maybe this movie will have some good songs. And so far, I'm just kind of like, so I don't know. Let's have some good music first, and then we can try to see.
I love this. It's like
genre.
It's like an advanced degree of difficulty, like ice skating in the Olympics. Like you get extra points if you attempt attempt this and can land it.
Because I do think, and Sujoy would obviously know more about this than me, but like both of you would know more about this than me, but it just feels to me like qawwalis are inherently way more advanced than a lot of regular songs on so many levels. I think like mujra songs and qawwalis, both of them are way more advanced because you just first of all have to have this gigantic troop of people. So you need to the setting needs to be really good. Now you need to have a choreographer who knows what they're doing. You can't have them doing acrobatics. People need to be sitting, and then now you have to cast people who can move their faces and do a really good job with it. The song itself has to have all of these peaks and valleys happening. The singer has to be not just a good singer technically, but they have to be like an expressive singer. And then the costumes need to be really good too, because all the costumes from, the Rishi Kapoor qawwalis, he's wearing parrot green satin and like a little red hat with a golden feather. Yeah, like the outfits have to be eye-catching as well. It just feels like such a tall order.
Yeah.
I mean, compare that with just a duet, two romantic people in the rain. That just seems so basic to like compose and direct.
And the industry restrictions at the moment when it comes to music is that the monopoly is T-Series, which is not a music company anymore. It's more of a YouTube content creation.
They're just destroying everything.
Factory. And like they have to churn out 3-minute songs every week as their calendar, commands them to. And compare that with a 6-minute or an 8-minute qawwali that requires so much work and so much effort to write and compose and produce, and that's the machinery of content creation that people have to fight to get a qawwali into a movie. And only perhaps like old school producers like Yash Raj or Dharma could do it. I don't see a Rohit Shetty movie per se to have a qawwali in it. Do you know what I mean?
Understatement of the year.
Possibly have a funny one, maybe like like the Main Hoon Na one, maybe. But yeah, it's a tall order.
Yeah.
But
sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, you're right. It's like only the old school producers would be able to do something like that. Like Yash Raj, Dharma, maybe Farah Khan if she chose to come back and do something with Red Chilies.
When we started discussing about the qawwali episode, when you guys approached me, the first thing that came to my mind is, do you remember in the 90s there was an indie pop remix called Q Funk, which had Babul Supriya, Shan, Sweta Shetty, I think Sagarika, Shan's sister, and Style Bhai. So they remixed basically all the qawwali hits into an indie pop track, and they had Parda Hai Parda, Kajra Mohabbat Wala, Hum Kisi Se Kam Nahi, and I think there was another one.
You're blowing my
I'm
mind,
missing.
and I want it.
I'll send you the link.
We'll put it in the
Yeah,
playlist. Yeah.
and then obviously beyond Bollywood, also there is a whole world of qawwalis out there. As we said,
Right.
like Ustad Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan and everything. I think there's a one indie pop track which is a one-hit wonder, which had. Do you guys remember in the 90s there was an actor called Jas Arora? He was like.
Oh yeah. He was my
So
husband's classmate in school.
Oh really?
Yeah, he was. One
Um,
time, like my husband was just like this, we weren't married yet, but he was watching TV and he was just like flipping channels, and then he was like, "Wait, is that my classmate?" And then he stared and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's my classmate. When did he become a model?"
so he was in not the Gurnalo Ishq Mitha, but another indie pop music video called Yaro Sab Dua Karo. Do you remember that? Sung by a Bombay-based singer called Ram Shankar, and that was the only hit that he had in his career. And then he appears as a reality TV judge now, but that's the only song that he sings in one.
What reality show is he a judge on? I have to show my husband these clips.
I think he's on like Saregamapa or something.
Oh, okay. I was hoping more for like Splitsvilla or something. That's more my jam, but okay.
He's in the Sunny Leone film Ek Paheli Leela, which I totally enjoy. Like, it's a great reincarnation film. And I like when you said the name, I'm like, faint bell. When I looked him up, I'm like, oh yeah, that guy.
He also has a cameo in Monsoon Wedding, I think. Yeah, the cousin that appears at the end, when like has a Nazro Se Baate with Shefali Chaya's character, or Shefali Shah. Then yeah.
It's so funny, like when you watch a movie and someone pops in that you weren't expecting. Like I just finally watched that movie Pink, which I'm probably the last person on the planet to have seen it because everyone else has.
I haven't seen it either.
Oh, I finally watched it. But I liked it, and Tapsi Pannu was great in it as usual. Kirti Kulhari was great. Amitabh was great. But anyway, I was watching Pink, and then this person who had essentially like a bit role in it was Vijay Varma, and I was like, he's just like sort of like a thug, and he shows up on screen. He's so painfully skinny. And I was like, wait, is that Vijay Varma? I had no idea. I mean, he didn't even have like top billing or anything. And now we know him as like the Vijay Varma of Darlings. But it's always funny when you watch like slightly older movies and you see these people, like, when you see Nawazuddin Siddiqui in Devdi in Emotional Atyachar, and you're like, wait, that's Nawaz. That's always fun. Okay. Any closing thoughts on qawwalis, you guys? Oh, I did want to say that I was looking up like the list of famous qawwals on Wikipedia, and of course there are the expected names like Rahat Fateh Ali Khan, Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, the Sabri brothers, stuff like that. But there's only one female qawwal. She's Pakistani's Abida Parveen. But then I also read a note that said she's not considered a qawwal because she's a woman. But I was like, whatever, we're taking her. Like, yes. Okay.
This does make me wonder, like, if anyone listening to this knows more about Pakistani film than we do, which is probably lots of people, there must be some there too, right? I would love to know. I would love to know those and add them to our playlist and just share them. I
wonder if Madame Noor Jahan had any qawwalis, because like I've heard so many of her songs because I love her so much.
She's so great.
I don't know about her qawwalis. I mostly just know her ballads.
Speaking about female qawwals, I think the Noorani sisters, they are also kind of considered as qawwals. Okay. They perform like, obviously they got recognized by hi.
There has to be a cat appearance in every episode, Sujoy. It's fine. My cats are also filmy ladies. They just randomly come, say hi, and go away.
We exist in their universe, not the other way.
Seriously.
Yeah. I just live in their house. I feed them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's all that I have.
Okay, amazing. Well, thank you, Sujoy, for joining us. And for those of you who live
me
under a rock and don't know who Sujoy is, he is one of the co-founders and co-hosts of the Khandaan Podcast. And we'll link to them in the comments so you can go check them out. And Beth and I have known Sujoy for, I don't even know how long. It's been in eternity, at least 15
It's at least 15 years.
Yeah.
And for all the Sujoy fans, like any Khandaan fans that are listening to this episode and love Sujoy, I have to tell you this Sujoy anecdote. So back in the days when we all had our blogs, and Sujoy had his blog One Night Stands, he is the most easygoing, chilled out sweetheart of a guy. Like he's like a teddy bear in human form. But there's one thing that got his goat. And so he once wrote this blog post, which was essentially a rant about how it annoys him that actors and actresses in Indian cinema play musical instruments wrong on screen.
Fair enough.
Do you remember this, Beth? There were
I don't, but I can imagine it's egregious sometimes. So fair enough.
Well, see, I don't play any musical instruments, so I don't know what y'all are ranting about. But there were screenshots of Rishi Kapoor in cars. There were screenshots of Shah Rukh. There were screenshots of people playing the piano, and everything had it. It wasn't in caps lock, but it felt like it should be. Because Sujoy was basically like, "This is not how you play piano. This is not how you play a guitar." And to lighten the mood, in the comments, I wrote something to the effect of, "Sujoy, what do you think about Tu Hai Meri Kiran? I really like that song from Dar." He goes, "Why is there an electric guitar in the song? If Juhi's running through fields and meadows and farms, where's the electric guitar plugged in?" And I was like, I don't know. I'm sorry. But yeah, Sujoy's blog used to be a lot of fun, and this is how we know him. And now, of course, he is part of the trio of Khandaan. But that's why when we thought about having a guest for Qawwalis, I was like, we have to get Sujoy on.
Absolutely.
And hopefully like a rant.
Thank you so much for having me, though. It was so much fun going down memory lane and exploring all these Qawwalis. Like always fun to listen. Like for this, not just for the episode, but I started, when you cue one song and YouTube Music just keeps playing the same genre, and all these great songs that I had to go through this week. It was such fun.
And so many that you forget, right? Like you haven't listened to that song in so long, and then you suddenly revisit and you're like, oh my God, this song is amazing. Why don't I listen to it more often? Okay. Well, thank you for joining us for this episode of Filmi Ladies. We wanted to thank Farhan again for his amazing suggestion. And if any of you who are watching / listening have any ideas for episodes that you want us to do let us know. We do take your suggestions seriously, and then we'll make an episode on that. And then if we think that we could have like a really cool guest on, we will invite them. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. We're everywhere. And we want you to like, share, and subscribe to us, and write in your comments. And now, before we sign off, everyone has to do the Qawwali clap. Let's go. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Bye.
See ya.